Hello, I'm Dr. Vanita Rattan from the Hyperpigmentation Clinic. This channel is dedicated to skincare for skin of colour. As you know, I'm a doctor, but I'm also a cosmetic formulator specifically for skin of colour. So this whole channel is all about going through ingredients lists and telling you whether or not a product is suitable for our skin or not. I'm sure if you've watched a few of my videos, you'll know by now the difference between skin of colour and Caucasian skin. The difference is that with skin of colour, one scratch, one bite or one burn and we hyperpigment. Compared to Caucasian skin, where in fact you could take the full top layer of skin away and beautiful new skin is going to grow back without any pigmentation. This means we need to be a lot more educated with our skincare and a lot more careful with our skincare. With some ingredients, we actually need higher percentages, such as tyrosinase inhibitors, but other ingredients, such as specific acids, we have to be careful of. And unfortunately, the majority of skincare has been geared towards Caucasian skin, and a lot of it isn't really ideal for our skin. And so I basically do all the hard work for you and I differentiate whether or not a product is suitable for you or whether maybe save your money. Right, so today's video is a very special video for me. We are talking about periorbital hyperpigmentation, also known as dark circles. So dark circles are a huge problem for the skin of colour community, and till date there hasn't really been any effective home care kit. So this video I want to talk about, first of all, what are dark circles and why do they happen? Are hereditary dark circles treatable or are you stuck with them? The signs, what percentage of the population is affected. We'll be talking about the best ingredients needed to treat it and the percentages required. I'm going to go through your step-by-step routine to treat dark circles and then the biggest mistakes that currently are being made for dark circles that are actually making the situation worse. If that sounds good to you, please give me a thumbs up. I do highly recommend you get a pen and paper because we are doing a deep dive into dark circles, the most comprehensive video I think ever been made on dark circles for skin of colour. So I hope you find it useful. So what are dark circles and why do they happen? So dark circles tend to take place from 16 years old to 25 years old. That's when you tend to start to see it after puberty. And it tends to get worse as we get older because the skin tends to thin. It also tends to affect skin of colour more than Caucasians. In fact, a study done in the Indian Journal of Dermatology showed on 200 candidates that 47.5% of them had periorbital hyperpigmentation. So it is a big problem for the skin of colour community. So of those candidates who actually had dark circles, 63% of them had family history of dark circles. So it was classed as hereditary dark circles. The other very interesting fact was that when they did Wood's lamp, so an examination on the skin to see if it was epidermal or dermal pigmentation, 60% of them had dermal pigmentation. That means that pigmentation is very stubborn when it comes to around the eye area. And this is the main reason the creams you're wearing right now aren't going to work. For example, if you have a caffeine cream, that will vasoconstrict, but it's not going to help with dermal hyperpigmentation. If you have a niacinamide cream, it will help with transfer of melanosomes to the surrounding skin cells, but it's not really going to touch dermal pigmentation. Dermal pigmentation is stubborn, and these creams that have very low percentages or 1 or 2 actives for skin of color dark circles, you're not unlikely to see any results, and that's why there is a huge amount of dissatisfaction when it comes to dark circle creams that have been bought over the counter or online. So what is actually happening at a cellular level when it comes to dark circles? It's twofold. First of all, we have large melanocytes. The cells that actually produce the pigment melanin are larger in skin of color, and they tend to cluster around the eyeball area. And they are easily triggered. This means that they tend to overproduce pigment in that localized area, and that's why you see dark circles. The second thing that happens that as we age, we lose collagen, we lose elasticity, and our skin appears thinner and more wrinkly, and so pigmentation also appears worse. This means that when it comes to treating dark circles, we have to target both issues. First of all, we have to use very high strength tyrosinase inhibitors. I recommend about 8 to 10 tyrosinase inhibitors, not just 1 or 2. And also I recommend things that are going to boost elasticity, hydration, and collagen. You want to do both when it comes to having effective treatment for dark circles for skin of color. The next question I get asked all the time is, are hereditary dark circles treatable or are they not? The simple answer is yes. It's a little bit like saying, if you have a genetic tendency to gain weight, does that mean that there's nothing you can do about it? Or if you have a genetic tendency to get diabetes, does that mean there's nothing you can do about it? There are always lifestyle choices that you can make in order to affect the outcome. And the same is true with dark circles. You can use high strength tyrosinase inhibitors to slow down the rate of the melanocyte and melanin production, even though you have a genetic tendency to overproduce melanin around the eye area. So it may be more stubborn, it may take more time, but it is something that you can achieve. It's something that you can do something about. What ingredients are needed to treat dark circles? So first of all, let's start off with your vitamin A. The best form of vitamin A is retinol palmitate for around the eye area. And I know you're thinking to me, but Dr. V, isn't that the weakest form of vitamin A? You would be correct. However, it's also the least irritating. And the skin around the eye is only about 0.3 millimeters thick. That's about the thickness of a piece of card. So it's very thin. You cannot afford to irritate this area because otherwise you're only going to lead to more pigmentation. So it's not enough just to say, okay, you need a vitamin A around the eye area. You need the correct form of vitamin A. So retinol palmitate in this area will help to turn over skin cells faster, so you have younger, juicier skin cells coming to the surface that have less melanin in them. And it also helps to mop up free radicals. Free radicals, don't forget, lead to premature aging, which is the exact opposite thing that we want to be doing when it comes to dark circles. The next ingredient we want to use is vitamin C. Now, as you all know, vitamin C, there are many different forms, and here you want to use both water-soluble and fat-soluble vitamin C. So you want to use sodium ascorbate phosphate that will work in the epidermis. It's a tyrosinase inhibitor. It will slow down the rate of melanin production. But at the same time, you want to use a fat-soluble vitamin C, such as tetrahexyldecyl-ascorbate, my favorite form of vitamin C, because it's one of the few things that will penetrate into the dermis to actually help restore collagen. So don't forget, I said earlier that as we lose collagen, dark circles appear worse. We have to improve the texture of our skin in order to improve the appearance of dark circles. And so both those vitamin C's are very useful when it comes to treating periorbital hyperpigmentation in the skin of color. The next very important ingredient is tocopherol acetate. So that is your vitamin E. Now, as you all know, antioxidants work much better in combination because they're more stable. So I would use this with the vitamin C in combination. You want to mop up free radicals that will essentially damage collagen and lead to premature aging, which is the exact opposite of what we want to do. So vitamin E is excellent to use. The next set of ingredients that we need to use are your tyrosinase inhibitors. These are essential. The number required and the percentages are really instrumental in treating dermal hyperpigmentation around the eye area. So starting off with one of my favorites is kojic dipalmitate. Now this is an ester of kojic acid. However, you don't want to put kojic acid around the eye area. It's too irritating. Kojic dipalmitate is a very effective tyrosinase inhibitor, but without causing any irritation, which is key for skin of color. So that's a definite must. The second ingredient is niacinamide. So niacinamide is very good at reducing the amount of melanosomes being transferred from the melanocyte where it's being produced to the surrounding skin cells. So it helps to reduce the amount of pigmentation that you're seeing on the surface. The next one is alpha-arbutin, which is an excellent tyrosinase inhibitor without causing any irritation, which is very important for skin of color, and it works well in combination with other tyrosinase inhibitors. The next ingredient is one that you might not have heard of, but I think you will in the future. It's an excellent tyrosinase inhibitor, and I use it in all my products at the Hyperpigmentation Clinic, and that's octadecanoic acid, also known as dioic acid. It is more effective than azelaic acid, but without the irritation, and that is fundamental when it comes to skin of color. In fact, a study was done on 96 Mexican ladies with pigmentation, and they compared 1% dioic acid versus 2% hydroquinone. They both, after 12 weeks, showed an equal efficacy of about 40% reduction in pigmentation, but the difference was dioic acid gave you no side effects. So it's a fantastic ingredient to use for your dark circles. The next ingredient is licorice extract, which is a skin brightener, and it's actually got a component in it called glabridin. And this is a skin soother and also an antioxidant. So an excellent ingredient again for dark circles. The next tyrosinase inhibitor is Erva ursi extract, which is also an antioxidant. So again, is fantastic to use for dark circles. The next category of ingredients necessary for dark circles are your moisturizers, so your humectants. Because don't forget, you know, the eye area, the skin is very thin and it tends to wrinkle first. And so one of the ways to combat this is to plump up the epidermis. You want to use things like sodium hyaluronate, which, for example, one molecule will draw in 1,000 molecules of water, like a water magnet, in the epidermis. This will plump up the epidermis, so you get much better light reflection. And again, this is really important when it comes to the appearance of dark circles. You also want to have emollients in this kit, because what you want to do is to smooth out the edges of those skin cells. So things like cetearyl alcohol, Simonsia seed oil, or Parkey butter are all very good at ensuring that those edges of skin cells don't curl upwards, they go downwards. This would mean again that you get even reflection of light, which again gives a very youthful appearance to that area. Now, if you're going to use all these ingredients together, you also want to have anti-inflammatories, especially for skin of color and especially for this area where the skin is so thin. So one of my favorites is allantoin, and I would highly recommend that with all the actives. So as you can imagine, these ingredients just didn't exist in a dark circles kit. Not even 50% of these actives were together combined in a dark circles kit. So I decided that I was going to make it for you. So introducing the world's first dark circles kit specifically for skin of color. In it, you have all the actives I've discussed in the video in the correct forms at the correct percentages for our thin skin around the eye area. And because it's been designed for skin of color, it should be non-irritating. As you know, with skin of color, we burn and hyperpigment quickly, so we can't afford to put things around the eye that would burn the skin and worsen your dark circles. So this is really a labor of love, and the reason I made it is because I treat thousands of people with dark circles in the UK in my clinic. However, I'm very aware that I'm not able to help people globally because my clinics are in the UK. So the only way that I'm able to help is by creating kits for you that you have requested. And periorbital pigmentation dark circles was top of the list, and that's why I'm so excited that finally we are ready to launch. So we launch at the end of November, and we give you a 1-hour priority access to those people who sign up. The link is down below. You have access, you have a code that opens up the website for 1 hour before the website opens to the rest of the world. So if dark circles is something that really affects the quality of your life, and you feel like it's the first thing you're looking at in the mirror, it's a thing that you have to cover up all day long, or you don't feel secure, or often a lot of men who don't wear foundation or concealers feel very vulnerable and exposed because of comments that get made. If this sounds familiar to you and it really does bother you, then you have this dark circles kit. So one kit lasts 3 months, 2 kits is obviously for 6 months. I do recommend, if you've had dark circles for years, then your cells are likely to be more resistant and you're probably going to need 2 kits. So start off with 1, but you may need 2. So it's important to know that, because then that way you get 6 cell cycles. So it's about 30 days per cell cycle. So you have 6 cell cycles for tyrosinase inhibitors to work on your melanocytes. So how do you use it? It is a 2-piece kit. You have IMAX and DC repair. IMAX is very high strength tyrosinase inhibitors. You apply them every other night, followed by a non-fragrance moisturizer. And on the alternate night, you apply your DC repair. Those are your skin rejuvenators. So you do those on alternate nights. It goes without saying that we have no drying alcohols, no essential oils, and no fragrance. It's important to know that this is not a peel where I'm taking the top layer of skin away. We're actually going into the skin to slow down the rate of that melanocyte. So it does take time. Whether you go for the 1 kit or the 2 kits, it's not an immediate thing. It's actually a skin treatment. Now, once you've treated your skin and you're happy, after that, the only thing you need to carry on with is your sunscreen. That's essential because you don't want UV coming and re-triggering your melanocytes. That's one of the #1 causes of dark circles in skin of color. So that is essential, but you don't have to keep purchasing the kit. Avoid this kit if you're pregnant, if you're lactating, if you have any dermatitis of the skin area or any broken skin around the eye. This happens, for example, when you have very dry skin from eczema. You don't want to then apply actives at the same time. You should also avoid it if you're using Roaccutane. So you can do this 6 months after you've stopped your Roaccutane. In terms of side effects, there's less than a 1% chance of temporary dry skin or temporary irritation. If you do like to see behind the scenes how products are made, how manufacturing process takes place, I do encourage you to follow me on Instagram at the Hyperpigmentation Clinic or at Skincare by Dr. V, because I do love to take you on the journey with me. I do feel like we are one big family. I'm doing it for you. And I want you to see, you know, behind the curtain and what exactly goes on, the problems that we encounter, how we combat them, why this hasn't been created before, etc. So all those questions get answered on Instagram. So I do recommend you follow me on that. I'm also on TikTok at Dr. Vanita Rattan on TikTok as well. Right, so we launch at skincare.drv.com and we launched this particular kit by the end of November. We restock our Lipex kit by the beginning of December, so there's a lot going on all at once. Please do write down below any questions that you've got on dark circles and our dark circles kit, and I will respond. Thank you very much.